Welcome back to Gita ODC live sessions. Today is our third session, and today we are going to cover two shlokas, shlokas 4 and 5. In fact, 3 and 4 we are going to cover. So let's do a quick recap of the previous session, and then we can continue. So in our last session, we talked about the first two shlokas of chapter 2. The first shloka beautifully painted a typical human problem through the example of Arjuna, Arjuna's emotional breakdown. So we spent a lot of time discussing the fact that it is not a problem of Arjuna. It's a problem each one of us faces. Whenever we face the battle of life, this is exactly what happens. So mirrors our own life battles. And to that person, to that human being who got completely perplexed in front of a tough life situation, Bhagavan is going to give his talk. So Bhagavan started not with a spiritual solution. We talked about this. When the problem is emotional, you cannot give a spiritual solution upfront. First, you have to deal that emotionally. Then you can, once the person is in a receiving mode, once the person is ready to receive the message, we can talk about the spiritual teaching. So, being a battle, Krishna employed a strategy called battlefield strategy. We talked about that in length. This is pretty much applicable in corporate world. This is pretty much applicable in almost all the games. And Krishna employed that strategy, like shake Arjuna a little bit, shake the human being a little bit, who is perplexed in front of the life. So that is what is warrior strategy. And we also talked about the fact that if it was a child, the strategy would have been totally different. You would go and hug that person. So depending upon the emotional nature of that individual, the role of that individual, the emotional treatment will vary, but definitely you need an emotional treatment. So we talked about there is a lesson for leaders. We need to know when we deploy this battlefield leadership strategy. This is a very common, popular strategy in the modern world. And also we talked about the fact that there was a message for the seekers, like the binding attachment is the problem. So we talked about the Madhusudana, the significance of Krishna's name Madhusudana. And also we talked about the name Arya. The word Arya is not a racial name, but we quoted the meaning of the word Arya. Kartavyacharan dharma, akartavyamanacharan, that shloka. The person who is doing what needs to be done is Arya. It is not about Aryan rebellion. It is not about the Hitler's Nazi regime, nothing. So this is where we stand, meaning we've covered so far. So Avanti, you want to add anything? Because I know that you put a lot of messages, but if you want to quickly recap.
No, Rajesh, I think you covered it beautifully, extensively in the last class, and I have sent voice notes. There were 5-minute clips on everything that Rajesh ji has said. So please go through at your leisure. Just added a few new nuances to it, but I think everything's covered.
Awesome. So let's continue. Before we start any lesson, let's see which topic we are covering, because there are 7 major topics in chapter 2. We are at the first topic. Shlokas 1 to 10 is again the restatement of the problem. So what is that emotional breakdown of a human being that is being presented with the example of Arjuna? So that is the topic we are in. So as we transition each topic, we will see how we progress from one topic to the other. There are 7 topics as we discussed last week. So we will continue. So we will go to Shloka 3. So let's listen to the chanting.
क्षणं विषीदन्तमिदं वाक्यम् उवाच मधुसूदनः श्रीभगवानुवाच कुतस्त्वाकश्मलमिदं विषमे समुपस्थितम् अनार्यजुष्टमस्वर्ग्यम् अकीर्तिकरमर्जुन क्लैब्यं मास्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वय्युपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्तोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप.
So you can listen to this chanting. It is there in almost all the music platforms. And listening this chanting itself is a meditation. You can make each word out of it. That is how this chanting has been done. Very, very much musically. So listening to this chanting itself is a meditation. So let's go to the Shloka 3. Let's understand the meaning of the Shloka first, and then we will deep dive into the inner aspect of the Shloka. So Krishna continues his argument again, like just an emotional blow to the warrior. So he said, Klaibyam masmagama partha nai tattvai upapadyate chudram hridaya daurbalyam tyakta uktishta parantapaha. Amazing shloka. So he says, Partha means the son of Pritha. Pritha is the name of Kunti. So Partha is Arjuna. And also the word Pritha can mean that the son of the earth. That means he is calling each one of us. So, O human being, he said, Klaibyam masmagama. So do not yield to this unmanliness. Again, we are going to talk about the word unmanliness. People can say that this is politically not correct word, but it's not gender. So we will see when we deep dive into that. So don't compromise your identity. That's all Krishna is saying. Like, you're a warrior, don't behave like a teacher in the battlefield or a preacher in the battlefield. You are in the battlefield with a purpose. Imagine you're a cop. So you cannot say that I'm practicing ahimsa. Then you should not go to that particular profession. So that's what it means. Don't compromise your self-identity or the role. And then he says, that's very beautiful. This doesn't suit you. Krishna didn't say that you are bad or you are wrong. He said that this particular behavior doesn't suit you. Then he said, Chudram hridaya daurbalyam tyakta uttishta. So cast off this weakness of heart and get up and do your duties. That is the literal meaning of this. If I paraphrase, don't compromise your role or don't yield to this weakness, chicken-heartedness. This behavior you are exhibiting, this weakness doesn't suit you, oh child. So cast off all your problems, get up and act. That's it. It's a call to rise above the despondency, because meaning it's okay to get sad, but get up and act. That's all. This is a powerful wake-up call for each one of us. When we imagine this, meaning just imagine the situation is you are perplexed in front of the life situation. That is the time he is saying, this weakness doesn't suit you. He didn't say that you are weak. There is a huge difference between that. That is the point. He didn't say that you are weak, you are good for nothing. No, he didn't say. He said that this particular behavior doesn't suit you. So get up and show your true identity. This is the call for each one of us. So let's deep dive. First, we will see at a glance what we are talking. So Krishna interjects this unwarranted and fatalistic dejection with a powerful call to all of us, not just Arjuna. Through Arjuna, rise above the fleeting moments of weakness and reconnect with your inner strength. And that is the only way. Highlight that sentence. Rise above the fleeting moments of weakness. Each one of us will have to go through this situation in our life. Some people many times, some people occasionally. But each one of us will go through the situation. At that time, this is the thing that needs to be programmed in your mind. Get up, reconnect with your inner strength. Allowing situational pressure to overwhelm you is like you are putting your true potential down. Face life's challenges with courage and determination. Recognizing that setbacks are not the measure of who you are. Underline that. Remember, setbacks are not the measure of who you are, but it is an opportunity to awaken your resilience and tap into your boundless inner power. This is the essence of this shloka. Avanti, you want to comment on this? This is very powerful. Like we just try to summarize this in one paragraph.
No, all I wanted to say is this division in the book of each shloka has been very meticulously thought out by Rajeshji, So, many times we don't have time to sit with the entire chapter. But my sincere advice is if you can just open up to this and go over just at a glance, just this portion, you will remember the gist of the shloka that you've studied and do it every day so it seeps in. Because the way we've divided each chapter, it really is very well organized to study this nicely on a very deep level. So just look at this and you'll get the gist of it.
So the way we wrote this is very interesting. Like we had to write the whole commentary and then we have to come back and do this. And this particular portion took more time than writing the commentary. So that much effort we took for this particular section. Okay, let's continue. So what is this battlefield psychology?
I'm persuaded by Sarah's position. You could get some of like my firm, for example, to donate the same amount of money, but it would just go to programs or community events.
Can you check whether your mics are muted?
Yeah, please? I think I got it. Okay. So what is this battlefield psychology? It's a tough love. A warrior in crisis demands warrior medicine. If it was a student or a child, it would have been different treatment. So here, Krishna, like a coach's fiery speech, like I called out the example of basketball, NBA games. You listen to the coaches in between. My God, they're shouting. Look at a soccer game. The coach, how they awaken these players, that is battlefield psychology. So the word here used is kleibium. Kleibium means chicken-heartedness, or you are not a spirit crushed by emotion. That's it. It's nothing man or women, nothing like that. So that's number one we need to keep. And then the second phrase used by Krishna is tyaktva uttishta. Two things, a dual call. First, destroy your weakness. That is not good enough. And resurrect your strength. This is very important. So cast off your weakness, get your strength. Because only strength is life. Weakness is death. So that is the message. Swami Vivekananda was very fond of this particular phrase. He got this from Katha Upanishad and these shlokas of the Bhagavad Gita. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but that is one point. And second thing is that recognize the enemy within. We all think that hridaya daurbalyam tyaktva. So he said, the biggest enemy you need to conquer is not the enemy outside. So you need to conquer that enemy within. Hridaya daurbalyam, the weakness of your heart. Like excuses when the duty calls. Emotions overriding the wisdom. And these are the enemies within, and you need to conquer. So you are betraying your true identity through this Hridaya Daurbalyam, the weakness of heart, and that battle-tested antidote. Step one, remember who you are. You are a warrior, or you are a leader, you are a seeker, you are a student. Who you are, you have a role to play in this world. And then second, what is that? Reset, refocus, and respond. Reset your current mental state. The current mental state means it is emotionally overcharged. It is down, depressed, dejected. Reset it, refocus, and respond to the life situation. So this action is going to break the paralysis. Tyakta uttishta. That is why it is a two-step process. Reset, refocus, respond. This is the strategy given by Krishna. And to my surprise, I found this in many, many corporate trainings. Exact same phrase. Reset, refocus, and respond to the situation. This is the advice given. So in the diagram, you will see, right? The person is confused, dejected. Like there, Krishna wanted him to refocus, reset. Meaning get up and act, and you will have blessings. Break the spell of weakness. This is the message of this shloka. Couple of more points. Then, rise to your potential. This is the Gita's growth framework. So the core teaching here is Nai Tattvai Upapadyate. This doesn't benefit you. So whenever somebody is weak, whenever somebody is not doing anything, usually how people tell them, oh God, you are useless, or you are weak, or you are good for nothing. That is not the strategy one need to employ. Your actions may fall down, but your essence is noble. You are not bad. Yes, this action may not be good, but that action is not a measure of who you are. This is very much highlighted by Shankaracharya in later point when he commented. This should be the advice we should be approaching a child or a friend. When somebody is down, saying that, oh, this is you are good, not good. Somebody fails something, branding them as bad. No, that action alone is not good. Right? And Jesus Christ also talks about this. He said, nobody is meaning, don't hate the sinner. He said, hate the sin. Don't hate the sinner. And thus that message is extended to every aspect of life here. So a person cannot be judged by one action. One day somebody is dejected. He may have hundreds of reasons. So that's not a reflection of who he is. So we need to wake him up. And this should be the guidance. I remember like one of my teachers used to tell, like when a student is not doing well, or when your child is not doing well, just say that you are good. So this particular exam you didn't do. That's it. So you have to isolate that one behavior without branding him as bad or useless or something else. This is the growth mindset. This is very popular in the modern day management, the growth mindset. So the feedback when you give, that feedback should elevate. It should not crush the person. This is the Krishna's message. If you take and apply to leaders, this is important. And then for seekers, a tool to course correct, not to blame himself. Suppose some setback happens. I mean, we all think that I'm useless. No, that behavior needs to be changed. That's all. So this is a self-assurance for a tool for us to course correct. And for all, live aligned with your dharma, not with your limitations. Limitations are not who you are. Strive for the best. So this is the growth mindset framework given in the Gita. So parenting, right? This isn't like you versus you are lazy. The way you phrase that is going to make a huge difference. At workplace, your potential is greater than this. That's it. It's not that you performed badly. right? And self-growth. Is this who I aspire to be? I wanted to be more. That's it. This is very important message from this shloka. So Gita, we need to always relate to our life. That is the whole idea. So Krishna's, the call is what? Tetta uttishta. Arise and act. Weakness is temporary. Strength is your essence. Clouds may hide the sun, but it will never destroy it. And the sun will come out. So your battlegrounds may be different. Sometimes we may be fighting with a health battle. Sometimes it could be finance. Sometimes it could be relationship, everything. So every challenge is a call for us to awaken that latent power within ourselves. This is what Krishna's message. Let me pause here for Avanti to add any additional comments.
So just going back to that point where Rajeshji said that the approach that you have to have towards self or towards others. If you just look at the verse itself, the way it starts, if you just look at verse 3, Klaibyam masma gamaf partha. So he's used that harsh word, Klaibyam, and he's followed it up with Partha, which we have said is son of Kunti. Now, just a trivia over here, that before the war started in the Mahabharata, Kunti sent a message through Krishna to Arjuna that make sure you win this battle. You have to re-establish righteousness. So while he's using a very harsh word, he's completely softening it with that whole thing of, reminding him of his mother, reminding him that this is his own mother's instruction. So there is a lot of love. Every time he says Partha, every time he says Kaunteya, it's a lot of love for Arjuna because he himself was very fond of Kunti, very, very fond of Kunti. So this also teaches us of how when we say something, how we should be able to, quote it. There's this, like, all our teachers, all our Vedanta teachers always bring up this, I think you are doing Ramayana now, but they bring up this conversation of Hanumanji with Rama when Hanumanji goes to introduce himself to Rama for the first time. And that, when you all come to it, is supposed to be the epitome of speech, good speech, of how we should present ourselves, how we should talk to somebody else. We don't think. So even in this very harsh approach, which Krishna has used, there's a lot of softness in that. Another thing I'll have to highlight over here is that Partha, he's continuously used Partha or Kaunteya. Both mean the same, son of a woman. This itself completely highlights the fact of the importance of women in our culture. We have to stand up for this, that our women are not maligned or not put aside. It is a very true fact that in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has called Arjuna many names, but the maximum time, 60 times from all the other names that Krishna has called Arjuna, he's called him by the name of the son of your mother. So that itself, just day before yesterday from a French woman, I got a message that, isn't it true that, women are so badly treated and so badly, they're really put down in India. And I quoted her this, I said 60 times when Lord himself in the Bhagavad Gita is referring to a mother, to pep Arjuna up. How can you say this? So there are many, many instances of that. So that's something that we have to remember. Another word that he's used over here is Parantapa, which means scorcher of foes. Again, what Rajeshji was saying, very important to understand that. So why is he called Parantapa? Apparently, he scorched, he burnt, or he destroyed, Arjuna did, a demon called Nivata Kavacha. Very impossible demon to conquer. Now, when Rajeshji was saying that, when we look at ourselves, again and again, I want to remind you what Gita Odyssey falls under. It's project self. Entire Bhagavad Gita has to be taken back to ourselves. We have to improve ourselves. So when he was saying that, you look at yourself, so many times we make mistakes, we deem ourselves useless. Words like this, Parantapa, when Krishna uses, it's reminding us to just sit and look back at the 30, 40, 50 years, whatever we've lived on this planet, how many times we have come across such horrible instances in our life which we could not come out of. But we came out of that, right? So here when Krishna is reminding Arjuna, look, you've killed that demon, whatever his name was, these names are so hard, Nibata Kabacha. You've killed that demon. What is all this? He's reminding him of the righteousness. So for us also, whenever we fall down at any instant, you have to go back to your past to remember how many such hardships you have overcome. And that itself will pep you up. So two very, very important things just with those two names that came up. And another thing is that there's a lovely quote that one bad chapter doesn't mean it's a bad book. Many times, even for our children, we have this attitude, oh, like Rajesh said, you failed an exam, or even worse for ourselves, oh, I couldn't do this right. There is always, every new sunrise is a new promise, is a new attempt. We can't just deem it like, oh, it's the end. How many times you've said this is the end of the world? I mean, I know few faces over here who have suffered unimaginable challenges, including myself. And yet we stand to tell our tales, right? So just reminding ourselves constantly, this verse, every verse should speak to you, to remind yourself that this is not the end, no matter what happens. There are a few more points, but let him complete the shloka and then I'll go to the other 2 points, 3 points.
Yeah, exactly the same point. So Parantapa means scorcher of enemies. We have done that in the past. So when we get a setback, that's what we need to think. How many success we had in our life. Imagine each one of us in your childhood. What would be your aspirational target state at that time and what you have achieved now? It's not comparable. In our Vedanta class, we did this as a game, and everybody wrote when they were in 7th grade, what was their ambitions. And every one of them were achieved more than 100 times. Imagine. So you could do that. So that's very important. Swami Vivekananda, one of the most dynamic and progressive monk. He loved Gita. And these 2 shlokas, this is not a spiritual teaching. These 2 shlokas are not spiritual teaching, yet these were his favorite shlokas. So in his complete works, there is a beautiful story. Once Swami Vivekananda, before Swami Vivekananda became famous, there was a past. Most of us won't know, because most of us know Vivekananda only after he returned from United States to Colombo, that lecture from Colombo to Almora. But before that, he was a wandering monk in India, and nobody recognized him. He was just wandering like a very ordinary monk. So one time he was in Varanasi, and he was just walking through some place, and there were a lot of monkeys there. These monkeys started chasing Vivekananda. First, what he did, he started running back. And he ran back and the monkeys were chasing him. At that time, an old monk said, "Oh, Babaji, stop." And then he said, "Face the brute. Otherwise, the brutes will chase you till the end of the earth." That was a big message for Vivekananda. He just turned around and started facing these monkeys. So immediately the monkeys ran away. So he says, in that when he was describing that story in his complete work, he said, "Run and run, they chase you. Confront, they will flee." This is exactly what the problems are. If you run away from your problem, if you think that you are useless, the problems will continue to chase you. But the moment you feel that you are strong, the problems will run away. And that is why he put this quote. This quote mainly came from Kathopanishad and Gita. These were the 2 books he loved. The first quote is like Vivekananda always used to advocate, "Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached." This is an exact quote from Kathopanishad. Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapyavaran Nipodita. This is the exact quote from Kathopanishad. And most people know this as a Vivekananda quote, but in fact, this is a Kathopanishad quote. So this is his message. And then he always criticized this passive resistance, passivity. He said, cowards never win victories. And it was his famous statement, man dies but once. But the cowards, they lie every day of their existence. So fight the fear or it will rule you. This is the modern quote. And Vivekananda's one of the most powerful quote is, strength is life. Weakness is death. And if you are weak, every day you will die. And I still personally remember one of the incidents with Swami Dayananda during his final moments. He was about to be airlifted from Pennsylvania to Rishikesh. He wanted to be there. And the doctor said, like, only 14 days left for you. Only 14 days maximum. He could hardly speak. And he did his farewell speech here to all the people assembled. Oh my God, you should have listened. And that speech was full of jokes. He was cracking jokes about his own death. And somebody asked Swamiji, how can you do that? He said, I have 14 more days to live. Do you want me to die now? And he was laughing. That is strength. So he got that 14 days. If it was you and me or somebody else, you would have already died. That 14 days is gone from our life. That's exactly what he was telling and joking. So this is very important. This was in front of our eyes. There are people who can do that. So one more point here is, so this shloka talks about the upliftment blueprint. This comes again and again in the Gita. So it's not criticism, but you wanted to recalibrate that human being. See, this doesn't define you over, you are falling. We need to be, this is the one message, take home message from this shloka. So in our Puranas or the epics, we have several examples. The first example is Hanuman. When these monkeys were trying to cross this ocean, nobody was ready to cross the ocean. Like Angada said, I can go, but I cannot come back. So many other monkeys said, I can go to 20 yojanas, 30 yojanas. Hanumanji was quiet. He was not confident. At that time, there was a famous character, Jambawan. He is the one who instilled that confidence in Hanumanji. Because of that, he was able to understand his strength and he jumped. If the dharma was totally different, Hanumanji could not have done anything. So that's why there is a phrase come in, right? In every one of our life, there has to be a Jambava dharma. Somebody has to perform that Jambava dharma. And we need to do that to the people we love. Uplift that person, don't put him down. And an opposite example is given in Mahabharata. Shalya. So Arjuna and Karna was coming in the Mahabharata battle, in the Karna Parva of the Mahabharata. Anybody read that portion? How Vyasa described? Oh my God, it is one of the best war scenes. Even the movies you cannot paint like that. Like the vision of Vyasa was so perfect. So coming to that battle, there were two charioteers. One is Krishna and the other one was Shalya. So both ask the questions. Krishna asked Arjuna, are you afraid? And Arjuna looked in front. He saw Karna coming. He said, who will not be afraid? Because he is such a great warrior. I'll be a wooden log if I'm not afraid. But Krishna just teaches him, like, you can face that. You have the strength. You have dharma with you. You can do it. But what did Shalya did? He asked the same question. Are you afraid? He said, yes, I'm afraid. But Shalya said, you should be afraid because you are going to get killed very soon. You are going to get defeated. So that Shalya dharma is putting people down. Whereas Jambava dharma is going to uplift people. So what should be the model here? That is what. And Krishna Krishna is that X factor between Karna and Arjuna. Really speaking, Karna would have destroyed Arjuna easily. And there is one instance, he take the Nagastra and shoot at Arjuna. What Krishna does, he put the Ratha down. So what happens is Arjuna's, like, the crown was taken by the arrow. That's one instance. Second time he does a Narayanastra, Krishna jumps up and get that in his chest. So this is the dharma one should do, like Jambava dharma, not Shalya. Shalya didn't do any favor, and he just, every moment he tried to break that warrior's confidence. These examples are given not as story, but to take messages from their life. So this is your turn to lead. For yourself, replace I can't with this isn't my meaning. This is not my true self. This is not my truth. And for others, be a Jambavan to somebody in crisis. So this is very important point. So you want to add any point, Avanti, before we go to the reflective prompt?
Yeah, so 2-3 points. First of all, this Jambavan thing, to take up this project. It's one thing to be a fan of Gita. It's another thing to practice Gita. But to write on Gita was an impossible project. And really, Rajeshji was the Jambavan in my life in this aspect. If he hadn't put that confidence that, we can do it, you can do it, you can be a part of this, this wouldn't have happened. And I always felt very, inauthentic that a person like me who has not given like 20 years in some ashram, like, all the gurus of today could pick up the pen and write the Gita. But in our launch of our first book, Mitrananda ji said that anybody who has even practiced one teaching of the Gita has the right to write on it. So yeah, so without Rajesh ji's encouragement in this wouldn't have happened for sure. That's one thing. Second thing, a very important thing over here, this verse, amongst others, this is one of the verses that is always picked up and said that Gita is a hate-mongering, war-mongering kind of a book. This is one of the verses. And I just want you to realize that actually every religion, and I'm going to quote just so that you all know, because see, most of us are living abroad and we have to be able to defend our culture and what our Shastras say, not because it needs any defense, it stands alone and in quite good stead, but we should know, right? We should know what we are saying and what we are understanding. So I'm going to quote a few things that every religion calls out this unmanliness. Every religion will say, get up and fight unrighteousness. Every religion will say, don't be weak in front of what is wrong. So I'm going to quote some. In the Old Testament, Jehovah, his words, exactly what Krishna has said, that unmanly, politically incorrect word. Jehovah has said in the Old Testament, gird up thy loins like a man. So he said the same thing in different words. Jesus has said, I came not to send peace, but a sword. Jesus himself has said, please get up and fight for what is right. Buddha, arise thou hero, conqueror in battle. Again the word battle. Zoroaster, for God and right fight for God and right against forces of darkness. Again the word fight. Okay. Then Muhammad, this is so, Bikranji has done a whole, when he was doing his PhD in world religions or something, he was like, the first time I met, he explained this to me. Muhammad says, you shall fight the infidel, obey, recompense, disobey, chastisement. Now, this is completely misunderstood. I don't want to get into this because I'm not teaching Islam over here. But even Muhammad, it wasn't to kill everybody who's not Muslim. It was a different story. We'll talk about that another day. Even he talks about fight. But see how quickly people pick up and say, oh, it's a warmongering book. It's not. What is the point of religion? Annihilate what is wicked within and without and re-establish righteousness. So wherever, there are 2-3 points where Krishna will directly say, get up and fight, Arjuna, get up and fight. Please understand that fight, which you all should be able to defend, is not fight outer battles. It's all just symbolic. Very important to understand. It's fighting against anything that is outside or inside that is unrighteous. And we've quoted this in the book. Gandhiji, he had the whole no fight movement, right? But his biggest fallback for his life, for counsel, was the Gita. And yet, if you look at what he did, the non-cooperation movement was also a fight. When you are not cooperating, it's also a fight, So when you look at all of that, please understand that it cannot be put down as a warmongering text. All religions are saying the same thing. About fear, remember this one quote very nicely: what you resist persists. Whether it's in relationships, whether it's in jobs, whether it's in your family life, wherever, whether it's in health, whatever you're running away from is going to persist. You might leave that relationship, you might leave that job, you might leave that, whatever that situation is. But remember, in that, there is a lesson for you to learn. If you're not learning it there and you're choosing, no, I'm not going to fight this, I'm going to go somewhere else, rest assured, in a different guise. You leave your mother-in-law and run away somewhere in some other guise, worse than mother-in-law will come to teach you that exact lesson. So for us, when Krishna says later on that you've got this on a golden platter, Arjuna, fight it, finish it off. When look at each of your struggles as been handed to you on your golden platter. And fortunately, we have the Gita. So using these shlokas, we face our fears. We don't run away from them at all. Face them full on, right on spot.
Right. So we'll go to the reflective prompt. So please, this is for your contemplation. You don't need to answer here. So have you been intentionally avoiding a particular fear or obstacle? Has your avoidance make it disappear? Does it still run in the background and bother you some way? How does the idea of confronting it directly make you feel? This is for you to think and reflect on yourself. So this is the prompt for this shloka. And we will conclude with the quote. So within you drops the power to conquer every storm. Rise and claim it. This is the message. So I think we covered only one shloka, but we are at the top of the hour. So we can close here and we can resume next week. But this is such an important shloka. So we spent enough time and we can open up for Q&A or any discussions now.
Rajesh, if you could just go back to the reflective prompt for a moment, please, before we close.
Yep.
Change the slide. So over here, now this is what I was saying even in the voice note. Please sit with this week. This week, sit with it, okay? And just try and draw a line across all the dots that you can pick up in your own life. So anything in the past that you've avoided, just see if it has come, the similar pattern. It may be a different scenario. Something that you avoided at home must be showing up at the office. Something that you've avoided at the office must be showing up at home. Just try to see if you can join the dots, draw a line, and then you'll understand what is the lesson that I have to learn. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. So this is how these reflective prompts will, help you. And it really will help you if you do it today or tomorrow. If you leave it to the end of the week, it's going to dilute. So try and finish this reflective prompt today. And when you finish the whole series with us, which may take very long, when you read these reflective prompts, you'll see how much you've gone ahead. But that question we keep asking, am I progressing? Your own reflective prompts will show you where you're heading.